Agbo Jeremiah. Albert Jeremiah, thank you very much for being here. Emmanuel, thank you. Esther, thank you very much. Innocent, thank you. Labake, everybody in the chat room, everybody, right? Labake, thank you very much. Makchif, Makchif, thank you. Mercy, Rosemary, Samson, Samuel, Tosin, right? Everybody, thank you very much. Please, in the chat room, very quickly, all right? So that we can get into the meat of the matter. I wanted to give a bit of context, everybody. I had to give a bit of context. So please come into the chat room. Rosemary, thank you. Emmanuel, thank you very much. Hey, Emmanuel, the first person to answer. Emmanuel says, I'm a student expecting to learn about digital marketing, and I've been hearing about it. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Can I hear from all the others? All right, Emmanuel, I'm also a student. We're all students, right? I'm a student also. I'm a student in the School of Life. I'm also a student in a couple of other schools. I'm even a student in Transformation College, right? Who else is here? Everybody, Abuja AO, tell me, Agbo, tell me, right? Who are you? What Tosin says, okay. Tosin says, Victoria, training night, brilliant. Thank you very much. Who else is here to learn more about marketing? Mercy is good. Thank you. Who else is here? Very quickly. Tosa, where art thou? Right? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, good. So let me give a bit of context, right, everybody? So for Emmanuel, the Nwokike, that this is your first time. We've been doing this this is the 7th month. So please, you can contact the team Transformation Collect. Please drop the link. We've done this 6 times this year. One, two, three, four, five, six this year. And we did it 3 times last year. We have covered about 9 different Google tools over the last 9 months, everyone. We have covered about 9 different Google tools for digital marketing over the last couple of months, over 9 months to be very specific. Okay, but at the end of last month, we looked at it. We said to ourselves, we're teaching everybody about digital marketing, but some of these people also still are not. They're not experts with marketing. They're only learning the digital side of it. So there is marketing, and then there is digital marketing. And we found out that a lot of people were building on the digital marketing skills, but they were still not good when it comes to marketing. So in this second half of the year, we decided that we're going to change the itinerary. We're going to change the cost structure so that we're going to include a marketing topic and also a digital marketing topic. Now, that means you will not just know the digital side of things, you would also be an expert with regards to the core marketing. We found out that if you know digital marketing tools, but you don't understand the concept of marketing, you're going to struggle as it is. And that is why we're having this particular session today. All right. Please, Mr. Ina, can you please drop your LinkedIn page in the chat room if you don't mind? All
Okay,
right.
sir, I
So
will.
today we're going to discuss marketing. All right. We're going to look at marketing. So everybody, please give me an answer to the following in the chat room. Everybody, what is marketing versus advertising? Everybody, please help me. Come to the chat room. Marketing versus advertising versus branding versus corporate communication versus corporate comms. Those are all right. Marketing. There are 5 words. The fifth one is, so. What is marketing versus advertising versus branding versus corporate communications and versus public relations? I want to hear 5 words. Public relations, uh public relations management, something like that. Okay, so everybody, what's the difference between these five things? All right, everybody, please give me your thoughts before I call in our trainer. He's going to be able to help all of us today. It's important that all of us that we really understand what these things are. But before we call him in, can I get your thoughts quickly? Everybody, I put five things in the chat room. What is the difference between these five things? Everybody, okay? Everybody, quickly. Let's do it very quickly, okay? Let's do it very quickly. I want to hear from one or two people before I call our facilitator. And he has dropped his LinkedIn, the link to his LinkedIn page in the chat room. He has graciously done that. So everybody, please connect with him, follow him on LinkedIn. But I need to hear answers. Come on, gentlemen and ladies, Rosemary, Ahmed, thank you. Ahmed, thank you for being the first person to start. Marketing is the act of inviting consumers in captivating ways to one's goods and services. I like that. I like that. I like that. Let me hear from others. I have been asking five different things. What is the difference? Because all these words are used normally interchangeably, right? I don't even have an answer. Mr. Enyinnaya will give us his own thoughts, yeah, his own professional thoughts, because his own thoughts will not be like my own. He is a global guru when it comes to things like this. He will tell us what is the difference between these five things: marketing, advertising, branding, corporate communications, and lastly, public relations or relationship management. Some people will say public relations, some people will say relationship. Right? So either we call it relations or we call it relationship management, right? Good. Everybody help me. Okay, I like Innocent says branding is the process unique identity, image, perception of a product, service, a company in the minds of consumers. Okay. Wait, that's not bad. I like that. As I said, I don't even have an answer. Maybe somebody should help us prompt ChatGPT to say, Mr. ChatGPT, give me a clear distinction amongst these five things. And that person should help us drop it in the chat room. Mr. ChatGPT, give me a clear distinction among these five things. All right, as it is. Is there a major difference or there's just slight differences amongst them? Because I know that these are words that people use interchangeably as it is. Okay. These are words that people use interchangeably. So everybody, you can use ChatGPT, you can use whatever kind of AI platform to do it, but I want to hear what is the difference between these five things. Boma says they're all interwoven, one leads to the other. Marketing leads to advertisement or advertising, which leads to branding. I don't know, Boma. I'm not sure this your opinion is a professional opinion. When Mr. Enyinnaya comes, he will tell us these things. All right. When he comes on the call, he will tell us these things. But I want to hear thoughts. Abigail says public relation is protecting the image, serving as intermediary. I want to be able, somebody has now made it even harder. Well, me, I know the difference between these things and sales. Sales is when I see money. Me, that one is clear to me. I don't need any guidance there. Sales is when money is not even work order. I must have seen the actual money before I know that that is sales. So for me, that one is very easy. Sales is easy to define. All right. As I said, everybody, this is Mr. Ina that has graciously agreed to be here today. We even wanted to do this at 12, and he even agreed that we should move it to 2. So please, everybody, a round of applause. A massive, massive, massive round of applause to him. I don't need to read all these out to all of us. Author, brand connoisseur, he's an entrepreneur. Look at it, right? So this is him, and this is his page. Please follow him. is definitely somebody that is great to know and definitely somebody that is great to follow. He's a mentor, he's a trustee, and he will share his thoughts and opinion, and why all of us definitely should end up being able to do great marketing as it is. So once again, a round of applause as I bring up Mr. Enyinnaya. Please follow him on LinkedIn. I'm certain you'll be happy to admit you onto his page, and I'm certain all of us will end up being much better marketers in the next 1 hour that he's going, 1 hour, 1.5 hours that he's going to be speaking to us. So once again, college. Edith works directly with me as a director in the same organization, and we cannot thank you enough. We can't say big thank you enough to you for agreeing to do this for us. Thank you very much. Please take it over, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Orlando. Man, the energy is something else. I'm just hoping I can actually match the energy. Well, okay, it's really, really a pleasure being here. My name is Enyinnaya Iroadumba, and in simple context, I am a brand connoisseur and a GMD of Beacon Innovative Solutions Limited. I mean, a business we started 14 years ago. Well, any other thing you can find you can find up. You can just Google me. There's a whole lot you can actually find, so you get to know that about me. Dr. Orlando, you started the bidding war. Okay, so I will try as much as possible to answer well at the end of okay, so somehow during the course of my lecture to answer the question or as regards to the difference between public relationship management, branding, marketing, advertising, corporate communication. Now, coincidentally, it's actually a space where I operate in. So I'm going to just try as much as possible. What I don't like giving dictionary meaning, but I try to break things into little bits so that at the end of the day, you don't easily forget the things that have been taught here. It's a pleasure being here today. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please go ahead. I believe they should have given you the capability to
Yes,
do
they
that.
have.
Right?
Okay, can you all
Brilliant.
see my
Thank you,
screen?
sir. Yes, we can. I can. I can see it.
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
fine.
I can.
Okay, so let's start
You
from the
probably
beginning.
want to
So,
do it as full screen, or maybe there's something
yes,
with
I'm doing the full
it
screen.
could be on
Can
my
you all see the
side.
full screen
Okay,
now?
brilliant. We can see now. Brilliant. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
fine.
Please.
So I'm going to start by saying a big thank you to Transformation College. And when Edith happened to be in a particular class where I taught. Well, that's why it's good to always give your best. Much years later, she reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want you to do this." And on a serious note, it's actually an absolute pleasure to be in your midst this afternoon. So I'm going to be talking about marketing and customer value. Marketing and customer value. Dr. Orlando said something quite profound. He said a lot of effort has been channeled into teaching people about digital marketing, but there's also a need to balance with the, do I say traditional marketing? Yes. You see, a lot of people have this misconception that the fact that you have digital marketing, you don't need the traditional marketing. Recently, a client we did a media campaign for, a digital media campaign for. We got great results, but she was finding it very, very difficult to convert the clients who were walking into her door, because that is what your digital marketing will do for you. It will allow people to walk into your door, but whether they buy or not is totally dependent on you. And that is why you need to have a knowledge of both, so that when the people walk into your doorsteps or walk into your space, the knowledge of marketing, you'll be able to convert them into actual buying customers. So this is the objective for our learning today. Permit me, I will run fast. I may not exhaust the 1 hour being given to me because I've been able to digest the content of this particular slide. So I'm going to just help us bring it home such that we understand what is being taught here this afternoon, because that's how I like to teach. By calling, I'm a teacher, but I'm a businessman by profession, a brand connoisseur, as the case may be. So we're going to be looking at marketing and the marketing process. We're going to be looking at the 4 P's of marketing: factors comprising and affecting marketing environment, the evolution of marketing concepts, determining consumer needs and wants, customer relationship management, and ethical marketing. Now, the question is, what is marketing, right? So I want to believe I'll be able to answer the question from this particular slide. But let me say something profound, because that is going to be the basis of which I'm going to be making reference throughout the course of this discourse. Now, the most important piece in all of these variables, what in mathematics they say the constant in the equation is the customer or the consumer, as the case may be. Now, there's this particular phrase that says that customer is king, or what a cliche that says customer is king. Well, people tend to say that the reason for that particular statement is that the customer can never go wrong. Well, I'm from a different school of thought. When they say customer is king, my own understanding from my years of practice in business, I want to believe that if I understand who my customer is, it makes it a lot easier to serve that particular customer with the right price and all of that. Well, we'll get to that. But the customer is actually the singular most important piece in the puzzle of business. And therefore, he or she is referred to as king in this particular case. So now what is marketing? Now, some people said, a lot of people think that marketing, well, they associate marketing with advertising or selling, but it is much broader than that. Now, according to the American Marketing Association, marketing involves, now pay attention, creating, communicating, and exchanging offerings. So first and foremost, you create, and then you communicate, and then you now exchange whatever value you are offering to the customer. On the underlining word here is customer, actually. Client, partner, well, they're all the same thing, depending on the register or the industry where you operate in. Now, it said at its core, marketing is the entire process that involves moving your product and service from concept to or to customer. But when you are able to create a product and service and you are able to move that particular product and service to the customer, then marketing has taken place. So now let me attempt to answer the question Dr. Orlando raised from the onset. Now, he said, I'm going to be taking each of them one after the other. Now, what is branding? Branding is a sum total of experience that a customer gets as a result of patronizing or doing business with you. So a lot of people think that branding is logo, is your font, all of those things. Yes, those are aspects of branding, but the sum total of experience. Now, how does that experience come? Before I get to meet you as a person or as a business, so can I find it in the online space? What perception am I getting about your business in the online space? Or what perception am I getting as a result of having a discourse with you from from my communication with you? So take for an instance, Edith had a conversation with me or was in a class where I taught, right? She was able to form a perception about me from the totality of whatever experience that she got. And she felt that, okay, Mr. Enyinnaya can actually do justice to this particular topic of discussion today, right? So if I can actually be fantastic, but if I had given a negative vibe or a vibe that wasn't in tandem with the kind of things she will associate me with, then I wouldn't have done very, very well in terms of branding. So branding is your total experience. So it has to do with your customer relationship, the ambience of your office, talk about your staffing, how they relate with customers, a whole lot, your logo, how you are able to differentiate your business from every other business. Because the truth is this, ladies and gentlemen, there's no business you're doing right now that there's nobody that is doing it. So how you're able to differentiate your business from every other business. I always give this analogy when I'm teaching about branding. I say, imagine you walk into a room and everybody in that room, let's say about 50 of us in number, we have the same nomenclature, we have the same height, same skin tone, we're looking exactly the same. How do you differentiate Mr. A from Mr. B? That is what branding does to your business. Now, let me talk about corporate communication. Corporate communication simply means the channels of communication within an organization and outside an organization. So you can put out a press release as regards to, okay, recently, this morning I saw a press release from Law Capital. There's a particular case, a popular one, particular case between Scott Igamu and P1 Real Estate Company, right? So there were actually a lot of misinformation about what was really happening. So P1 put out their own communication to the general public, and Law Capital, who are representing the legal advisors or representative of Scott Igamu, put out how I forgot, I just mentioned the name just now, put out an official press release. Now that can set to be corporate communication. When you send out a memo within an organization to say, okay, Monday morning by 10 a.m., there's going to be a meeting, a management meeting. Those are mediums of corporate communication. Now, advertising simply means the medium through which you showcase your product and your service. So it could actually be via social media, and there are actually two arms to it. You have the digital platform and you have the traditional medium. Traditional medium would mean that you are going the route of print media, which is newspaper, flyers, and what have you, mass media, television, radio. Are you all with me? This is supposed to be an interactive class so that I'm not talking to myself. Are you all here?
Oh, we're here, so maybe if you want us to say something, you can actually ask us, or you can tell us to drop it in the chat room, whichever
Okay,
one works,
fine,
right?
fine.
And still,
Yeah,
but we're
I
here
like my
with
class to be interactive so that I am
that's
feeling your pulse as much as you're feeling my
okay.
own pulse as well.
We,
So
we,
that
we,
is
we full
all
ground,
about
we full ground for you. We full ground for you.
Thank you very, very much. At least it's good to know. Thank you very, very much. So marketing simply means like advertising simply means how you showcase your product and your service. And like I said, there are two arms to it. Yeah, you go to digital platform where you use social media. Yeah, to do that. You have Google Marketing. Thankfully, so this is actually this program is affiliated with Google. So you have YouTube and all of those medium through which you sell your product and your service. You have search engine optimization. That's for the digital arm. And then you have the traditional. I said you have mass media. You're talking about radio, television. Then you also have newspaper. That's for print media, magazines, flyers, brochures, and what have you, right? So that is about advertising. Then, okay, so we've talked about marketing already during the course of this slide. And then the last but not the least, public relation management. It simply means how you manage your corporate image and communication with the outside world, right? If anything had gone wrong in the organization, how you manage it, how you are able to put out those statements, it's very, very important because, well, as you grow big as an organization, you get to understand the magnitude of managing things when they go wrong or how you put out messages out there. Because the truth is this, communication, let me also be factual with you. Communication is only 20% non-verbal and 80%, sorry, 20% verbal and 80% non-verbal. So what it means is that we can all sit in a room, say nothing, and we are communicating volumes. Well, as during the course of this particular class, I should be able to shed more light on some of these things to give us a better understanding, right? So marketing here simply means what? The sum total of the process through which you get your product from the conception to the consumers. So what it means is that advertising is part of marketing. Your branding is part of marketing. Yes. So corporate communications, all of those things are all part of it because it's not just one thing that gets the customer to buy from you, right? Now, remember I said very, very important that the most important piece in this particular puzzle is a customer. Permit me to dwell a little bit on this because if you have an understanding of this particular concept, it makes every other thing I'm going to be saying here today a lot easier. Now, the problem I've identified that is that in the African society, we build the business first and then now begin to bamboozle heaven to get the customers to buy from us. Remember, I said customer is king, and I'm trying to explain the concept. Why, in the real sense, you are supposed to identify which of this market you want to serve, or identify the market, or identify the consumer, understand the consumers, and then now build a business around it. So more like we say, it's a backward integration. Let me say it again in case you missed it. In this side of the climb, or the world as the case may be, I've noticed that most of us will build the business first, and then we'll now begin to look for the consumers to patronize our product and services. But in the real sense, you are supposed to identify the market first, understand the dynamics about the market, and then build a business around it. A case in point, Lamborghini will tell you that they don't put their advert on television. Now, as much as you want to advertise your product, you see that now in economics, let me say this, in economics, we said that resources are actually scarce. So what it simply means is that if I must allocate resources, I must allocate resources on the basis of an informed decision. Now, during the course of my over a decade stint in business, I have had to make decisions based on instinct. I've had to make decisions based on suggestions. I've had to make decisions based on data. Can I be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen? Out of these three uh, processes of making decisions, you never will go wrong with data, unless the data you are getting is a faulty data. I've had to make decisions in these three cadre, and I can tell you for free that making decisions based on data, that is why they say data now is the new oil. How many of you agree with me? If you agree with me, say yes.
Yes.
Good. So I've had to make decisions. So now the thing about gut feeling is that it's a 50-50% chance. I mean, it can actually go right, it can actually go wrong. When you make decisions based on other people's suggestion, you actually, that person may not necessarily be part of your market. So you're just only going to build your business around what somebody else is saying. And I can tell you for free that at the end of the day, the people who end up patronizing your business may not necessarily be family and friends. Yes, I can tell you for free. So if you're building your business on the basis of what family and friends are telling you, you are sleeping on a banana tree. And the fall is usually not palatable. But I've had to make decisions on the basis of data, and I can tell you for free, anytime, any day, that if I want to make decisions, I rather will make decisions on data that is driven. Now, why did I say that? So if I understand who my customer is, it will help me in terms of pricing. It will help me in terms of how I advertise and market my product. Now, understand something. Abraham Maslow will tell you that there's something called the hierarchy of needs. It means that the various points in individual of the lifespan of a man, that he's being motivated by different things, especially when it has to do with income. Now, there are three income strata, though there's a fourth one now that has been invented. But let me tell you, you have the low income earners. Permit me, I may not be able to go through all the slides, but these things I'm saying to you, they are very, very poignant or very, very important. And if you get them, the slides is just going to be an additional flesh, right? Now, there are three income strata. You have, like I said, there's a fourth one. I'll tell you about the fourth one. You have the low income earners, you have the middle class, and you have the upper income earners. Now, at this various points in a man's life, these three category of people, of income earners, are motivated by different things. Now, can you build a business around any of these three? Yes. But if you understand that this is the market you want to serve, even your marketing approach will be completely different. Now, how many of you know that there's something called guerrilla marketing? Now, guerrilla marketing is actually targeted at the bottom feed, which is the low income earners. Now, who are the low income earners? They are those, you know them, they're everyday people. Now, these people are actually motivated by instant gratification and pricing. These are two core factors that determines whether they'll buy from you or not. Now, how many of you agree with me that bread is no longer an everyday commodity? If you have a different opinion, please kindly share. How many of you will agree with me that bread is no longer a necessity right now? It has become a luxury goods. If you agree with me, say you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, tell us why you don't agree. Because this is supposed to be an interactive. I like my class being interactive because we're all here to learn, myself inclusive. Hello. That means we all agree that bread is no longer a basic commodity. Bread has become a luxury commodity. Now, if you look at the dynamics, you get to discover that overnight, bread moved from being a basic or item to becoming a luxury item by the factor of pricing. So the guy wants to eat beans, going, but he's not so much perturbed about the ambience of the place. For him, the basic thing is hunger. Hunger is a motivation for buying. And because he's hungry, he wants to buy, but pricing is also very, very important. So the guy can buy beans, 200, rice, 300, fish, 200. The guy doesn't want to go above the 1,000 naira cap. You understand? So at that particular point in time, pricing and instant gratification are the major influence as regards to whether it's going to patronize your business or not. That is why if you look at fast consumer moving goods, you see that a lot of them remain within a particular price threshold. And you see that the margin is usually not much in terms of profit, but they rely on turnover. Now, if you notice, Gala over the years has remained within the threshold of 200 and 100 naira. They rather will reduce the size of the Gala than increase the price, because the moment they increase the price, that particular class of income earners that they are serving will no longer buy from them by the virtue of pricing. Am I making sense? Are we all here? Are you all following? Now, let's come to the middle class. The middle class, when you start touching money small, which I believe a lot of us are here. Now, a couple of things now begin to matter to you. The ambience of the place, hygiene, all of these things now begin to matter, which is where the quick service restaurants come in. Now, you see, it's the same business. I'm just going to be using the different classes of business within the same industry. The industry now we're talking about is food. I'm using food now as a classical example. But I'm telling you, I'm going to be using the three cadre of income earners to explain to you how your business is supposed to be built around your customers. Now, at that particular point in time, that's where the quick service restaurant comes in. Because at this particular middle class, convenience, comfort are major factors driving you. That was why there became the invention of home delivery came into existence, because these people want to patronize you, but they want to do it on their own terms. So they are particular about ambience. So if I'm going to sit at a particular place, I want to be sure that that particular place is lively. I want to be sure that that particular my food is properly handled with care. That's why in those kind of places, you see that they don't use hand like Yabasira to count plantain for you. They use speaker. I get a witness. If I get a witness, let me just say, yes, I can relate to what you're saying. Okay. Okay, yes. Yeah, like I said in the chat. You can relate, fine. Now that's good. So at this particular point, that if you go to places like ShopRite, if you go to their bakery section, you get to discover that those people are well clothed to ensure that there's no interface with their body or with their body coming in contact with you, because you are particular about ambience, you're particular about convenience. That's why they even have mobile apps now where you can actually go, you make sure you shop, you just pay delivery charge, of course, they charge you extra, and then you now buy and you get the goods delivered to your doorsteps. But there's another class of people who are the upper income. Now, these people, what drives them is about making statements and then comfort, super comfort, not just comfort, super comfort. Now, the airline business understands this particular thing I'm telling you about very, very well. That is why in the same plane, you have the economy, you have the business, you have the first class. Why some airlines, they just have just business class and economy. But some people now, I think they have economic first class. I don't know. Somebody help me. There's a new invention now. Is it economy first class or something like that? Who can remind me of the name? Recently, they invented that particular one. It's more like you want to enjoy some of the facilities that comes with first class, but you don't have the money for first class, so you just get to enjoy it. But they understand the dynamics. So people, the airline business understand it. Now, let me help you understand. So for the low income earners, if they can even afford it. Okay, so for the middle class, you have the business, you have the, what do you call it? You have the economic class. Let me not talk about the low income earners. Low income earners will just take night luxury bus or night bus. And even the vehicle they use too is also important. GIG is not for low income earners. So that's just to put things in perspective. But the middle class will go for economic class. While the guys at the top level, they will go for the business class. Now, remember I told you that there's fourth cadre, which is what we call them the 1% of the 1%. These people are driven by making statements and like I said, super comfort. Then that's why they now invented the private jets business. Because this guy can be in 3 countries in one day. So what does he do? He charters. If he can't afford to buy the private jet yet, even though a number of them actually do that. Now, bringing it down home to food. Remember, you buy from Iyabashiro at the low income and strata. You buy from quick service restaurants like Chicken Republic and Co. at the middle class. Then for the upper class, you have chefs. They have chefs who do their meals. for them, right? Because at that particular point in time, it's not just about even eating. It's not just about the comfort, but also about the acts. That is why you see those chefs will take their time to ensure that the presentation of the food, remember, these guys are driven by statement and, like I said, super comfort. So if you understand who your customer is, it will help put so many things about your business in perspective. The location of the business, what the pricing of the business will be, how you advertise, the brand colors. You're talking about branding, yes? So let me just share a quick story. Okay, so let me ask this question. Who can tell me why is it that Indomie noodles, they usually, if you notice most of their adverts, it's usually on red background? Who can answer that question? I need you to unmute and give me a response now, please. As business economy, thank you very much, Richard. I need somebody to unmute. Who can tell me why you think Indomie noodles, they usually place their advert on red backgrounds? I need somebody to unmute. Tell me why.
Because red is attractive.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Olushola. Okay, so apart from red being attractive, so let me tell you something. Remember, I said if I have to make decision anytime, any day, I rather will make decision based on data, right? Now, research has shown that the first color a child identifies as best is the color red. Now, the question is, who are they targeting to sell to? Who are they targeting to sell to? Olushola.
The kids.
Good. And what's the color, the first color a child identifies at birth from research I just told you about?
Red.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Now, a lot of people think that these guys just throw things out there. They don't throw things out there. Now, children relate easily with songs. That's why you have the Mama do good, oh, she do good, Mama we cook, we do good, basically whatever the song is. So you see how they understand that these kids are actually a primary target. And they are using every element that are relatable to kids or who their customers are to ensure that they drive home the message, which is what we talk about marketing right here. That is why even in their marketing activities, have you discovered that how many of you can relate with the fact that most of the school signages in most of the across the country are usually sponsored by Indomie noodles? Who can relate to this? You see, the mistake is that a lot of us, we involve ourselves in marketing activities, like, okay, road shows and all of that. But you see, all of those things may not be able to accumulate to actual results. Do you know why? The reason is that you can actually be taking a wrong marketing approach for a wrong class of customers. So let me give an example. I talked about guerrilla marketing. Guerrilla marketing is the kind of marketing you use for fast consumer moving goods. That's why you see some marketing companies will hire, or some of these companies will hire people who will go from street to sell their products. Because they understand that these people, this is where the people are. Those kind of products, when you want to advertise them, you don't put them, necessarily you can put them on television, but most cases, they are usually on radio. So you see how understanding who your customer is will help put so many things into perspective. Pricing too. That's how bread went from an everyday commodity to becoming a luxury commodity, just by the virtue of pricing. That is why the UAC had always ensured that the price threshold of gala, remember, between the confines of 100 naira and 200 naira. So what is the trick here? The rather will reduce the quantity. So what it simply means is that, so let's say a batter, if you're into baking, you understand what I mean. Let's say a batter of a mixture can actually get you 20 gala. The rather will increase the quantity of gala you can get from a batter mixture and retain that pricing than increase the price and lose out on that particular market, because they understand the particular kind of people that they are. That's why you will not see gala adverts on your airline. Now, somebody will just go and carry gala advert and put in an airport. The people who fly, they barely, I don't say they don't, they barely buy gala. So let's go back to our slide now. So how does marketing benefit an organization or stakeholders in the society? Now, understand well that we have our two stakeholders. Well, I'm still going to be continuing with my understanding customer analogy during the course. I'm just trying to give us a robust discussion at the end of today, right? So now, I need you to understand that you have internal stakeholders, you have external stakeholders. Now, my wife happens to be heading the customer service unit in a bank. She said something profound to me many years ago, and that thing stuck to me. She said, most people don't understand that your colleague is actually your first customer. And that thing made plenty of sense to me much later. Yes, the employees, the truth is this, now, in an organization where the employees don't believe in the business or don't buy into the business, when I mean buy into the business, I mean, there are some organizations where if you see the way the people working in that particular organization work, you think that their father owns the business. It is simple because the CEO or the people at the helm of affairs have sold the business to them. And therefore, there's this level of ownership, right? And then I always tell people in branding, I said, the relationship that exists between your personal brand and your business brand should be a symbiotic relationship. So what it simply means is that if you meet Enyinnaya as a person, you will want to do business with my companies. Or you meet my companies, you want to know who is behind the person who is behind all of these companies. So what it simply means, I always tell people will first and foremost buy you before they buy into your business. That's why you see people like Tony Elumelu taking their personal brand very, very serious. Yes. So if you're a business owner here and you think that those things are not important, they are super, super important. Now, these are things that digital marketing may not teach you. And that's why we're teaching you here now. So if you're a business owner here and you don't have a LinkedIn page, you can imagine if when Dr. Orlando asked me for a LinkedIn page and I'm not telling him I don't have a LinkedIn page, how will I appeal to you? You just appeal. I'll just I'll how do I put it now? The perception you have about me will be this guy is not a very serious person. True or false? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment. True or false? Imagine Dr. Orlando say, drop your yeah, very true, right? Yes. Thank you very much, Richard. But you see, you have to take your personal brand very, very serious. A lot of you. So now Richard, let me ask you this question. Tony Elumelu now ask you, Richard, give me 10 million naira, and you have 10 million naira. Going to invest this 10 million naira in my business, and by the end of 6 months, you're going to get XYZ amount. Richard, will you want to do that business?
Definitely, sir.
Why will you want to do that business?
Because of the return.
Apart from the return, who is telling you to do that, to bring that money? Is it not Tony Elumelu?
Yeah, Tony Elumelu.
So what you simply don't understand is that you are actually buying into the personal brand of Tony Elumelu. That is why in the first instance, you want to give that money. Then the second motivation will be the return on investment. Just the fact that Tony Elumelu is asking you to do that. So what it simply means is that you are benefiting. I mean, his personal brand is benefiting his business brand, and his business brand is also benefiting his personal brand. Well, let's go further. In terms of internal stakeholders of your business, the owners, you, the owner, the management, and the employees. Then external, we're talking about what customers, suppliers, and what have you, right? Very, very, very key. It's important we know these things. Now let's talk about the internal stakeholders, your employees. Now, in terms of branding, I always tell people, I said to them, why you see big organizations take out time to train their employees is because these are actually the face of the business. Somebody can form a perception about your business just by the virtue of their interaction with your employer, with your employee. Have you had an instance where somebody said, don't mind them, that's how they behave in the organization? Just by the virtue of an interaction with just a person in that particular organization. It may not necessarily be that that's how they behave in the organization. And that's why you see companies spend a lot of money and time to train and retrain their staff. Because the truth is, that's why you see marketers. How many of you open accounts by the virtue of your interaction with a marketer? Please unmute and respond. How many of you have bank accounts? I believe everybody have bank accounts. How many of you opened your account by the virtue of your interaction with a marketer?
I have.
From such an. Okay, Olushola. So tell us about, just in summary, what was your experience like that made you open that particular account?
In terms, okay, so there was I think this one was more of not a direct bank account, but all this money market insurance things. So
Okay.
I think as a result of the person that came in, there was a level of trust even with the person itself. So I felt that since I can trust the person I'm talking to, I can actually
Did you
trust.
know? Did you know this person before now?
No, I don't. I didn't.
Good. So you see how his personal brand actually benefited the business. I'm pretty sure probably you have done tens of millions in that particular bank that we're talking about. That is very, very important. So your employees must first and foremost buy into the organization. That is why I always tell people who are into marketing, you cannot sell what you don't believe in or what you don't know. That's why the first point is to for every serious-minded organization, there's something called an onboarding training. They take our time to explain the vision of the organization to you, understand the core values of the organization, the mission and the vision, and everything that has to do with the organization. And then they now take our time to explain their product and services because people are not as dumb as you think. That's why if you're selling a product that you don't believe in, trust me, people know. Yes, if you're selling a product you don't believe in, I know of a particular lady. This lady she's a fantastic fashion designer, but she doesn't dress like a fashion designer. And most times, that is where her problem usually comes. So, two problems she usually faces. Number one, people may tend not to believe that she actually made those dresses because there's a disconnect between what they are seeing and the end product. And there's also another problem, the issue of pricing. Now, she charges premium, but most people are finding it difficult to pay her premium because she does not look the part. So what it simply means is that she's actually serving the middle class and the upper class with a wrong marketing approach. The reason why a Sujimoto will buy a Rolls Royce is because he's selling to the ultra rich. The reason why he will live, yes, most of you don't understand this, is that even where you live should be a function of the kind of people you are. Yes. Let me share a quick story with you. When I started my business 14 years ago, most of the people who were patronizing me were family and friends. Much later, they introduced me to their own friends too. So more like we had like 80% individuals as our clients and 20% corporate organizations. And guess what? Those corporate organizations are actually owned by the 80%, so from some people from the 80%. But we needed to change our trajectory because we knew that at the end of the day, individuals, they were owing us, they were not paying the kind of money we wanted them to pay. So we needed to now move our customer base to more of corporate guys than the individuals. That had to change everything. I had to start learning about etiquette. I had to start learning the language of the rich. Because if you don't come across to them as somebody who speaks their kind of language, it becomes very, very difficult to sell to them. So imagine you are selling a luxury estate and you don't have a house of your own to start with, and you're not living in a prime location. Trust me, you'll find it very, very difficult to sell. True or false? I forgot to ask, what is the geographical location of this particular class? Do you have anybody from Lagos here?
Yeah, Ogun State, precisely.
Good. Okay, what about Abuja? Good, fine. You know what they say about Abuja? What do they usually say about Abuja? Abuja is packaging, Abi. The Abuja fake lifestyle will keep people in Abuja. It's not about fake lifestyle. What they are simply telling you is that the larger population or a significant population is actually within this the middle class and the upper class. And therefore, if you must sell to them, you must come across to them as somebody who is also playing at their level. Because there has to be some level of trust, like Olushola has said to us, for them to be able to part ways with their money. So when they perceive you as speaking their language, understanding their language, understanding their needs, you understand. Remember, all of these things boils down to you understanding who your customer is in the first instance. And even the color. That's why you see most of these vintage, most of these luxury cars. Number one, they don't come in too much quantity. That's why they'll tell you that they produce only 200 pieces of this particular Rolls Royce, this particular car. That is why even Rolls Royce have to go with, because you see, at that particular point in time, at the upper class, these guys are they are motivated by making statements. They want something that they own, not to be what every other person owns. That's why you see Rolls Royce will give you the opportunity of customizing your car before the car is being delivered to you. How many of you know that when you pay for Rolls Royce, it's not the day the car is being delivered to you? It takes an average of 6 months before the car is being delivered to you. So when you go and walk into a dealership, I don't know whether they still do it. But before, when you walk into a Rolls Royce dealership, they carry out personality tests for you. And part of what they do in the personality test is simple. They run your account statement for a period of minimum of 3 years. Then they do a test of your music, your style. Are you the kind of person? What they are simply telling you, forget about all the activities, but what they are simply telling you, speaking to your mind, is that Rolls Royce is not for everybody. That's why when you want to tell, I'm not sure. I think part of the contract agreement, yes, from my research, is that you don't sell your Rolls Royce just to anybody. I mean, when you are okay with it, you want to sell it, you contact them. And you don't just carry your Rolls Royce car to any roadside person to go and service. In fact, there are terms and agreements, terms and conditions, sorry, for owning a Rolls Royce car. So as much as you are paying them, there are still some terms and conditions that you must adhere to. If you don't adhere to, they'll blacklist you. So what it means is that with your money, nobody will sell a Rolls Royce car. Now they are able to do that. You know why? Because they are able to control the people who buy their products. I mean, they have their database. They know who is driving who, what at exactly time. That's why I think part of the rule, the criteria is that you must always leave your computer on, so that they're able to track per time who owns what and all of that. But there's a system of control, as the case may be. And so these are the internal stakeholders, your shareholders too. These are the internal stakeholders of a business. Then the external stakeholders, we're talking about your customers, your creditors, your suppliers, your distributors, the government. Yes, whether I like it or not, government are actually your stakeholders in business, and then the society at large. That's where branding comes in. You see, when you are able to sell whatever perspective or perception you are able to sell your business to the general public, is what they will buy. And that is why the cumulative of all of this is what marketing is all about. If you market your product as a cheap product, you can't expect to charge premium for it. And that's why some businesses, what they simply do is that they have two classes of product in the same business. Now, how many of you know that Lexus and Toyota are the same company? How many of you are aware? You can unmute. Now, what's even the acronym for Lexus? Lexus simply means luxury export to US to the US. They are exporting luxury vehicles, luxury exports. Because what happened was that Toyota had made a name for being a durable and affordable car. But they wanted to now start appealing to the middle class and the upper class. And they knew that whatever they did, they were not going to buy. So what they simply did was that they created a separate brand for that particular class of people. And they started, okay, fine, you're aware, yeah. They started using vehicles for that particular class of people. Right? And that's how the Lexus, just like you have, I think Honda, yes, Honda, what's the name of this? The Acura, Honda and Acura, right? The same company, but different brand names. So you cannot use the same approach for marketing fast consumer goods to market luxury items. Luxury items thrives on scarcity. It thrives on your ability for the clients to customize to suit their taste, right? Now, let's talk about utility. Now, when we talk about utility, what we simply mean here is that the variables in your business, right? Now, let's talk about form. So marketing creates utility. That's one thing you need to understand. Marketing creates utility. Now, all of these things still boils down to understanding your customers, right? So how will this particular product appear? What feel? That's why if you look at those luxury supercars, the shape in which those supercars come, it's unique. It's not something you find, because you understand that this particular class of people, this is what appeals to them. For your average everyday sedan or saloon, you get the spot that they don't come in, LG and Hisense. Thank you very much. But yeah, Techno, Phoenix. I think even the ITEL too. They are all from the same brand. But let's go ahead. Thank you very much. I like the vibes I'm getting from this particular class. It means that we are really, really getting the gist, right? In what form and shape? Remember, I told you about Gala that they rather will reduce the size and maintain a particular pricing, right? So he said an example: a bakery turning ingredient into an already ready to eat donut. Now we're talking about the form in which the product comes into existence. That's why if you see gaming mouse, their shape are usually different from your regular mouse. It's because they know that the people who are going to be using this kind of mouse, that's why there's something called the ergonomic design. they are going to be using these mounts for longer period because these are 3D, these are animation guys, 3D guys that take longer hours on one single project. So they have to make sure that the feel of the mouse is enticing. They have to make sure that the feel of the mouse is not is such that you hold that mouse for a long period of time and your hands are not getting tired. Now that's in terms of form utility. Then we're talking about time. So how much time does it take for the product to be made and the delivery of it? In Lagos, for an example, my first visit to Lagos, I was shocked to realize that by 1 a.m. you can actually get hot food. Now, these particular people who are selling this food understand that there are people who will come back late from their work because of traffic. Those people will crave freshly made food. So how will they get those food? So you see that those people, during daytime, you don't find them. They open around 8 and they sell all through the night to the very early hours of the morning. By 4 a.m., that is when they tend to begin to close shop for the day. Why? Because they understand. That's one thing. I think H Medics, they operate, yes, I think H Medics, they operate 24 hours. Correct me if I'm wrong. They operate 24 hours pharmacy service. Right now, they now later diversified into owning supermarkets and all of that, right? Because they understand that somebody can actually fall sick in the middle of the night and the person needs a drug at that particular point in time. So what now happens? Are we following now? So time utility will have to do with how you are able to deliver your product within the time frame, right? So there are some stores, like take for instance, Roban stores in Enugu, they don't open on Sundays. I think even Chick-fil-A too, they don't open on Sundays. So if you're looking for that's how they choose to. So they operate from Mondays up until Saturdays. So anybody who is a customer of Chick-fil-A or Roban knows that on Sundays you can't find Roban. So there's usually a surge on Saturdays to buy their bread and what have you from Roban because they know that on Sunday these people don't open. Now, place has to deal with convenience. Now, I remember I talked about understanding your clients and understanding where to position your business. So imagine that you open a gym and you start the gym in Ajegunle. Chances are you may not do well in business. Why? Because the mentality of the people there, that is not their lifestyle. How many of you will agree with me? But imagine putting a gym in VI. Are you going to sell? Yes, you are going to sell. So you see how understanding who your customer is will also help you understand where to position your business because location is very, very important. And apart from even location too, let's come to the social media space. You know that for the different social media platforms we all have people, they have different classes of users. For those who like to read long epistles, you can find them on Facebook. Those who are particular about short videos and pictures, you find them on Instagram. True or false? Then those who are business and corporate minded, you find them on LinkedIn. That is why if you're a corporate person here and you're not on LinkedIn, so I don't know what to say to you. But those are where you find those kind of class of people, serious-minded people. So even when you're going to adopt the various social media you're going to be using, you need to understand that the different classes of social media have different clientele base or users. You understand? So if you are not a news organization, you may not have too much doing on X or AKA Twitter. Because usually, and you know that if you write long, that is not your I know there's something about the Twitter community. They say those ones are a different breed of human beings. But that's what Place does to you. Place, the online space, physical. Do you have a delivery app? Now, how many of you know you have the gist of how Glovo said that a particular business did 2 billion naira in turnover just by the virtue of positioning, placing themselves on the Glovo app. Is it Glovo or there are two major food apps right now. I know there's Glovo. What's not the other one? Who can remind me? It's also a very, very popular one.
Chowdeck.
Chowdeck, good. I think it was Chowdeck that released that particular. So there are businesses that are doing Glovo and Chowdeck. Imagine you are into quick service restaurant and you don't have you're not positioning, you're not placing your business in any of this particular platform. It means that you're not doing something right. Right? So even in terms of development of technology, so let me give you an example. We run an online radio here. And one of the things we discovered is that by the virtue of the fact that we get data, we discovered that a large chunk, 80% of our listeners actually they use Android phones to listen to our radio. Then only like 20% use their their tablet and their PCs. Then only like 10% use their iPhone. If we're going to develop a mobile app for our radio, which of the app should we build first? And which of the platforms should we build first for?
Yeah, Android.
Fine. Now, you see, remember I said something to you. I said I've made business decision on the basis of instinct. I've done that on the basis of what people have said, and I've done that on data. So this is where a large chunk of my listeners are coming from. It will be a huge disservice for me. Now, somebody can go and build for iOS. Have you done something? Yes. But what's the result? The result may not necessarily be as effective as it ought to be. Why? Because you didn't understand where your traffic is actually coming from. Then we talk about possession. It means how would you want people to acquire this particular product? That is why. Now, let me give you a classical example, something that's happening in the energy space. A lot of people understand that people want to switch to solar, but they don't have the funding to do that. So what do? They partnered with finance businesses, finance corporations to say, okay, what? Let's supply this particular products to this particular person, do the installation. After the person has made like a 20 or 30% payment, and then the person will do that gradually. That's how the likes of Easy Buy and all of that came into existence, because they understand that there's a particular kind of market, particular regards, and they are able to serve that particular client. Are you all here with me? Are you getting something? Are you getting insight? Please let me know in the chat box by typing 100.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
we are.
I like the energy. Okay, fine. Let's look at the five process of marketing. Number one, it says understanding the market and your customers. You know, I've said that. That's usually the first place to start. But usually the problem in Africa is that, like I said, we build the business first and then now begin to look at who the customers are or should be. But if you build from the onset with the customer in mind, it helps. So that little resources that you have, you will put it in the right direction. Now, even digital marketing, if you understand who your customers are in the traditional marketing, even when you are doing all the necessary settings for your social media boost, you will identify that, okay, a large chunk of my customers, they are in VI. This is where, based on the fact that you understand the market and you understand your business. So at what point are they willing to buy? What price are they willing to buy? Now, I have a client of mine, he has chains of supermarkets, and he said something to me. He usually calls me Beacon. He said, Beacon, I usually stock baby products towards the ending of the year, around August, September. I said, Alaji, why? He said, because usually the result of whatever match they played in January would have started surfacing. So does he stock baby products? Yes, he stocks them, but he stocks them more during that period because this man understands his market. Am I making sense? So you need to understand. Then the step two, develop a customer-driven marketing strategy. So when you understand who your market is, it will now help a lot of things to be put in perspective. So what pricing, what marketing approach will you be indulged in? That is why you cannot be selling a luxury item when you look like somebody that needs a 10K handout. So you have to look the part, because like I said earlier on, people will have to buy you before they buy your product, right? Then deliver high customer value. So when you have been able to identify step one and step two, how do you ensure that these customers buy from you and gain value for their money? It's very, 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 very key. That's why I think Chris Eyre, when he launched into the Nigerian market, Chris Eyre, for those of you who don't know, you can Google him. He's a Nigerian jewelry maker. When he launched into the Nigerian market, one of the things they did was that when you buy a product from them, they come to your doorstep to deliver the product with escorts. Heavy armored vehicle will come and with siren. So for those who like, that was a good way to give them the showmanship. That's why for those of you who go to club, when you go and order Dorime, you see that all of a sudden there's a change in music. The hype man begins to hype. You see some ladies with some funny dress. They're carrying lights. The drink is being carried in a particular whatever. All of those things, they are just simply trying to tell you that they are just trying to deliver step number 3, right? And then step number 4 says grow profitable customer relationship. Now, let me also say something to you. There are customers who are dynamic. Some customers actually grow with you. Yes. So then when we started, some of these customers who were individuals before, they later started owning businesses, and we helped their businesses to grow to multi-million businesses. For us to be able to retain them, we have to also transition to a business that can actually accommodate their needs, because their dynamics were now completely different from what it used to be. So grow it. That is where public relationship management and corporate communication comes in very, very handy. That's why if you have a front desk officer, you have to train the person very, very well. You have to be polite to people on phone, right? When you're taking a call, you sit up. Right now, I'm sitting up because the truth is this: how you sit affects the pitch level of your voice. That's why if you are serving the middle class and the upper class, Ogbeni, you should know how to you should know basic etiquette. Because those guys will say, let's meet up at so and so place, and you're not blending in. It becomes a big problem. Are you following now? So it's very, very important that you know these things. And then on the final note, capture value from customers. Capture value from customers. That is why organizations have what is called a feedback mechanism. Always engage with your customers. They will tell you the next level of what they want, right? So it's important. If you get feedback, now let me tell you something that has worked over time. I usually like engaging customers in conversation. Do you know why? Because 80% of the time, most of them prefer solutions to problems that they have without
Sir,
even
it's
knowing
not
the
clear
technology.
again. It's breaking now, please, sir. Can hear you
Hey, can
clearly
you hear me
again.
now? What did you hear last, please? Paul, what did you hear last? So that I will just repeat that. What was the last thing you heard?
Richard, I think it's your network. I can hear him clearly here.
Okay, Laura, let me go back to step 5. Laura, I'll do step 5 back. So I said capture value from customers. Now, one of the reasons I like engaging with my customers, is simply because 80% of the time they prefer solution to the problem that they are facing. And what I do is that I try to build a business around it. So how did we start Beacon Radio TV? It used to be Beacon Radio. Then we now change it to Beacon Online Radio, and then we now change it to Beacon Radio TV. And I'll tell you why all of this transition happened. So there was a particular point in time we wanted to do something for Faith Foundation, and we were supposed to handle publicity for a particular program. It was during the COVID era, and it was a logistical nightmare to get a radio station that could broadcast in all 336 states of Nigeria, plus the Federal Capital Territory. So what it simply means that we had to start engaging radio stations one after the other in different states, and monitoring was a huge problem. So that was a gap by the virtue of our interactions with them. And then we now discovered that we could actually employ technology to have an online radio where any part of the world you are in, people can actually listen. And like they said, the rest is history. Now, why did we transition to radio TV? Is the fact that people want to have visual engagement with the person who is conversing with them on radio, or whoever the guest may be. And so we transitioned to having that technology. We have not deployed yet, but we are in the process of deployment. So that is what it means by capturing value from your customer, right? So I'm going now to run all this. The subsequent slides have to talk about them in detail, but I've explained them. Now let's talk about marketing mix, the 4 P's of marketing. Permit me to also say there's also the additional P's that have been added to it. I'll just only add one to it. Talk about product, price, place, promotion, and I'm adding people. People now who mean members of your organization, right? Your staffing, very, very important. That's why I always tell myself, look correct, smell correct, act correct, because people are going to form their opinion about organization from their interactions with you, right? So one thing about products now, and people also means the client. So permit me to start with people. We've delved more on that. When you get the people right, it will affect the product. And then can I be honest with you? Most of the expensive perfumes, the content are usually not expensive. In fact, there's a particular research that showed that One of the reasons why most expensive, have you even noticed that most expensive perfumes, their containers are usually heavy? How many of you have noticed that? How many of you have noticed that most expensive perfumes, they are usually heavy? Apart from the fact that they usually look fine, we talk about form in terms of utility, they are usually heavy. It's just a psychology thing. They understand how human beings relate. Now, permit me to also say something very, very important. So they understand that people attribute that something that is heavy should be pricey. That's why they spend time to put something that is quite cheap in a very heavy container, so that the heaviness of the container justifies the pricing. Now, there's also this psychology that people have that when something is expensive, the thing is authentic in terms of price, in terms of quality. Okay, so two women, they sell the same product, they source their product from the same place. This is something true life happening in Abuja. They source their product from the same place, they sell the same thing, but one was making more sales than the other. So one day, the other one that was not making sales had to swallow her pride and ask her friend, say, my friend, why is it both of us will patronize the same from the same, we do everything, but I noticed that you are getting more patronage than I'm getting. And the other woman smiled and said, the problem is your pricing. You sell your product with a little margin, and people in Abuja here assume that anything that is expensive is qualitative. So because yours is cheaper, they don't assume that they are getting quality, even though you and I both know that we source our product from the same manufacturers. And that other one has to just change her price, and that was it. Right? Aston Martin, when they were going to launch the Aston Martin Valkyrie, what they simply did, I think it was in the year 2000 and I've forgotten the year now, but what they simply did was that car was going to be launched in the next year. But because they wanted to up their pricing, they said that if you wanted to own the next year, just like saying you want to own a 2026 car in 2025, you're able to part ways with $1.3 million. Then, and probably before then, the most expensive cars at then was the McLaren F1 that was sold for $1 million. Then came the Bugatti. Bugatti was within the threshold of $1.1 million to $1.2 million. But Aston Martin wanted to break the roof then. And they now came, and with that particular marketing approach, guess what? And they only made 200 pieces of the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Guess what? They sold out. Why? Because they understand the people, and that helped the promotion, the place, the pricing, and even the product. So if you understand the customer is, it will help you. Yes, $1.3 million. Go and do your research about the Aston Martin Valkyrie and read up on it. You will get a proper perspective of it. So when you say that village people are pursuing you, it's not village people that they are making you not to sell. It's just the fact that a lot of us don't understand who we are serving. So if you have started business and you are attending this particular class today, Valkyrie is actually, let me see if I can, Valkyrie is actually from the Viking, yes, that's the spelling there. It's from the, what do you call it now? There's this particular Valkyrie, there's this particular Vikings, yes, from the Vikings tradition that they got the name from. Right, so adventure, you started business before this particular class. You can still go back to the drawing board and look at what you're doing and you're not doing properly. That is why even there's something called the bespoke tailoring, right? Because the bespoke tailoring was supposed to serve a particular class. Understanding your people, your product, your pricing, your place, and your promotion. That's why you don't see Indomie go to put their advert on planes, because that is not where. So they rather will go and cook noodles for children in schools. They rather will put their adverts with songs. They rather will go and put signages for school, because that is the market that they want to serve. Now, understand something. There are two classes of customers for the Indomie brand. You have the actual consumers who have, what do you call it now? They have the persuasive power. And then you have the people who really buy, who pay the money, who are the parents, by the way. Right? Now, let me tell you something about children. I have two of them at home, so I can tell you for free. Children don't easily get bored with things. A child can be packing noodles every day in a lunchbox for the next 1 year. And these people, they understand these things. That is why they rather will focus their marketing energy in that particular direction. So if you are selling a luxury brand and you're using, what do you call it now, guerrilla marketing, or your is increased, right? Yes, it's important. So that's why people who sell solar products understand that, see, not everybody can afford, but those who have steady income over time can be able to pay us. That's why they have an arrangement at regard to marketing environment. Now, there are two variables you need to look at in terms of marketing environment, and whether you like it or not, they affect your business directly or indirectly. You have the internal, the ones that you can control within the business, and there's the external, the ones you cannot control, or but you can do something about. Now, let me tell you something. If you're a business owner here, one of the reasons why it's important to keep records is because records actually speak to you as a business, and then you now begin to plan around it. So let me give an example. Let me just share a quick story with you. Some 4 years ago, because we keep records, we discovered that a large chunk of our profit was going into power generation. So what it means is that we had to run generators for longer hours, and that had us thinking. And because we were already planning of starting an online radio, and we knew that power was a major factor if we're going to run it smoothly. So all of these variables came together, and we started thinking, how do we go about it? And we discovered that there was a need for us to have solar system. Solar system. Yes. Right? So, and if we do that, as the initial cost was going to be very huge, but if we do that, it was going to help or cut down on cost in terms of power. Ladies and gentlemen, the rest is say is history. I speak to you, we've been running on power, solar power for 4 years now. You don't want to know how much it has saved us as a business. We were able to control it because we had records. Those were the things that were under our control. And guess what? It has given us, this year we're upgrading because we've been able to save a lot by the virtue record keeping, right? Now let's go into it. Now let's talk about the business environment, the organizational culture. Let's start with the organizational culture. Now, one of the things that I happen to work in the banking sector for a while, so I understand how the culture there works. One of the things they do in the banking system or in the bank is that the moment they buy an asset, they begin to charge depreciation on that particular asset. So let me help you understand. Let me put it, forget about the big English, let me put it in a basic layman term for you. So let's say we bought a vehicle for our business, and the lifespan of the vehicle, we're envisaging that vehicle will last our business for the next 5 years. So what we simply do is that we'll now calculate the depreciation on that particular car, because whether you like it or not, that car will suffer wear and tear. Then we'll now begin to set the funds aside so that by the end of 5 years, we should have enough money to replace that particular car. But guess what? If you have a good maintenance culture in your organization, that car can still give you another 3 years, and maybe that car may end up lasting you for 10 years. And guess what? You'll still be able, because you have a good maintenance culture, you'll still be able to sell that car at what is called scrap value. So you would have gotten money to buy that car ×2, assuming that the dollar is actually stable, right? So let me share a quick story with you. Many years ago, not about some 7-8 years ago, Dangote bought a set of new trailers, not the one he just recently bought. And then they were asking themselves, how do we ensure we don't have to replace trailers so soon? Now, here's what they did. They now put a caveat. They opened application for people who could drive the vehicles. They got over either 3,000 or 30,000 applications, and out of which 5 were PhD holders. Now you ask yourself, why is it that PhD holders were applying to drive a vehicle, like a truck? I'll tell you why. They did a calculation to say that if those vehicles, we don't need to replace them in the next 10 years, we are going to get XYZ in terms of depreciation. We would have been able to replace this vehicle ×2. So what they simply did was that they now, it's smart business decision, because that was a factor they could actually control. They now said, for everybody who's coming to drive this vehicle, if you drive this trailer accident-free for the next 10 years, by the end of 10 years, this vehicle will become yours. What do you think happened? Now mute and tell me. Was that a smart business decision? Come on, class. Are you still here? Or are some of you sleeping already?
You know,
What do you think happened?
Decision.
That was a smart business decision. Now, from what I've envisaged, they were able to, in fact, what they simply did that normally, that vehicle was they were giving it like a 5-year mileage. They had charged depreciation on it. And they now said, if we're able to push it further by another 5 years, we would have gotten money to replace 2 trailers. Only if the drivers will handle with care. Did you notice that have you noticed that you hardly find a Dangote vehicle? Hardly, if you travel by road, you hardly, I don't say they are not, you hardly find any Dangote vehicle that's involved in an accident by the roadside until recently. Why?
You are very correct, sir.
Good. That's a smart business decision. That was a factor they could actually control. And that was all, it's part of what the organizational culture is. There's a particular organization we work for. They only do payouts on Friday. So if you're a contractor with them, don't expect payment until Friday after you have gone through the process of payments. That's an organizational culture, right? Because at the point in time, an insider gave me, he said at the point in time, the only thing they were doing then was payment every day. And it became very, very difficult because payments were going out. Sometimes the payments that were going out were more than the money that was coming in. So what they simply did was that they moved every payments to Fridays. So they accumulate whatever they need to accumulate. They now know what they could actually control the payments that they could do. So you can actually control your pricing by the virtue of the input that goes into your business. Now, sometimes you might need to wear your thinking cap and begin to look at ways to mitigate cost. Also very, very important. So take for an instance, if I'm going to go into a delivery business, I would rather invest in electric vehicles or electric bikes. In fact, there's even a business in Lagos. They do delivery just with bicycles. They now captured that they were doing zero emission. That means they were not contributing negatively to the environment or climate by any means, right? That was a smart business. Now, what it does is that, now let me help you understand something. If I am going to do that, I'm literally not spending too much cost. I've been able to control my cost. Now, let me say something. I've understood by the virtue of running business that the major cost of most business is actually power. I get a witness. So if you look for a way to cut down, that's why record keeping is important. If you find a way to cut down your cost, you are in profit. Because sometimes you get to the point that so much money has come in and you have gone out of the business and there's nothing to show for it. Your village people are not pursuing you. You are not just paying attention to what your business is saying to you. And so those parts of the business that you actually control are very, very important. Right? Then those are the internal part of the business. Then the micro and the macro, let's double into them. Let's talk about the mind, the people, that's your staff. Like I said, a good CEO should be able to sell the business to his staff. Once they buy it, trust me, they work like it's their own business or their father's establishment. Then the timing.
How are you, my friend? Okay, go on.
Olamide, yourself. Let me meet you. Okay, fine. Now, how many of you have read the story of Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brother? The guys saw something that was fantastic. The McDonald's brothers, they were able to map their kitchen such that within a shortest time possible, or a shorter period of time, they were able to make a burger just by the virtue of how they arranged their kitchen. And so for that is something they can actually control. Now, there's a restaurant I usually eat. It's called Jevnick's. The first day I had my Jevnick experience, I was blown away because from the time we ordered the food to when the food was served, it was a very short period of time. And I was bamboozled. And I asked the staff. The staff now showed me that he had a tab in his hand. So because we ordered for some items, they told us that it wasn't available. Now, I now discovered that one of the things they did was that they took time to parboil some of these ingredients and they used pressure cooker to cook some of these things so that within the shortest time possible, you get your food. Now, what are the machines that are needed? I told you how we switched from generators and NEPA straight to solar, right? What are the machines that are needed? These are the things that you can control, right? So with the little resources that you have, these are the things you need to look at. Now, what money do you use to pay for everything? Is it a loan? Now, loan is not bad, but you need to also understand that there are different types of loan for different projects in the business. You cannot be doing a capital project and you go and take a commercial bank loan. You already are in trouble. I can tell you for free. So when you are going to do a capital project for your business, ensure that whatever facility you're taking, it's something that can give you a good moratorium space. You can take from Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, where they give you sometimes 1 year moratorium. That way you have been able to, and please don't go and start taking loans for a new business. Put your skin in the game, put your own money. You can use other people's money, it's okay. You can generate from family and friends, it's okay. But you need to understand these things because these are things that are within your control. And then look at the loopholes from where your money is going and look for how to make necessary adjustments to be able to cut it. Because the truth is, if you're able to cut down your costs, now cutting down your costs does not mean you now compromise on quality, please, no. Sometimes it will mean that some of the ingredients, let's say you're operating a quick service restaurant, some of the ingredients that you use in your farm, in your restaurant, you might have to grow them yourself. Well, so that's just very, 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 very important. Now, how are things being handled in the organization? What's your customer relationship management like? Right? Some organizations will tell you that if you have a complaint, somebody must attend to that particular complaint in less than 48 hours. And as the complaint is being attended to, if it's taking longer than time, they are emailing the customer. You must call the customer within so and so period of time so that the customer does not blow things out of proportion. Look at the external part, your suppliers. You don't have control over it, but to an extent you can. There are some like big chain stores like Market Square. They will tell you that they'll pay at the end of every 30 days. So what it does for them is that it gives them plenty of time to be able to turn your money over and over again. By the end of 30 days, they pay you for whatever supplies you do for them. The market intermediaries, middlemen. That was why network marketing came into existence. They discovered that it takes a large chunk of their profit servicing the middlemen. So what they simply do is that we'll produce the product and then we'll sell directly to the end users by the instrumentality of people, and then we share the profit with these people who will help us do that, right? Because middlemen have plenty of wahala. They'll be asking you for concession, they'll be asking you for discount, they'll be asking you for promos and all of that, right? Then customers, you can actually influence them if you understand. Then your competitors too. So what makes your business different from every other business that is out there? Remember, I said to you at the beginning of this particular training that there's nothing that you're doing now that nobody is doing, but you can actually differentiate your business from every other business by the instrumentality of branding, your marketing activities, your organizational culture, your corporate communications, your public relationship management. So let's do a small activity now as I begin to wrap up. I'm going to mention just brand colors, and you can unmute at this point. I'm going to mention brand colors, and I want you to just mention brand names in that have those particular brand colors. Are we ready? So red and white. Red and white.
UBA Bank.
UBA Bank, yes. UBA Bank, yes. Red and white.
Airtel.
Airtel. Yeah, that's true.
Global Bank.
Go global. Okay, it's okay, fine. Now, I believe you know that Airtel is not the only telecoms company in Nigeria, but you are able to differentiate them by the virtue of their brand colors. Good. Now, let me also say something. Have you also noticed that most quick service restaurants, they use the color red in most of their brand colors? How many of you have noticed it?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, in branding, there's something we call psychology of color. And in psychology of color, red is actually a stimulant. Apart from red standing out, I think Olushola said earlier on that red usually stands out. But you see, A stimulant is something that makes you do something. So let me help you understand. So you can drive past an eatery. You have seen the eatery in your subconsciousness, especially if they're using the color red, pepper red. Mostly they have to use the color pepper red for you to be able to achieve that particular feat. This particular feat I'm talking about. So your subconsciousness have registered it. You didn't see it. So on a very good day, you are hungry. Your brain will go to open the file to tell you that you saw an eatery in a particular place. True or false? What is your natural response? Knowing fully well that you have the money to afford whatever it is that they're selling. What would be your natural response?
To try them out.
Good. So they've made you do it without necessarily opening their mouth. That's what we call a stimulant. So that's why, if you notice, Chicken Republic, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, let's please call the names. KFC. Have you noticed that they all use pepper red?
Mega chicken.
Because of the psychological implication of it, they understand who their customers are. And what, mind you, what's the color of pepper? Is red. What's the color of stew? Is red. And research has also shown that people who suffer from Alzheimer's, they eat well when meals are served in red dishes. So you see that the corporate guys are not just doing things for the sake of doing things. They are doing these things. They are being very, very intentional about it. That is why they are reckoning the kind of results that they are reckoning. Elon Musk understands that all his companies will do well if he builds his personal brand very, very well. Most of you that bought Tesla shares, if you have Tesla shares, I can tell you that 80% of why you bought Tesla shares was because of Elon Musk. Or false? So you see, that is why all of these things are important. So how you are able to differentiate from yourself, from your market space with your competitors is very, very important. I can tell you for free, but now let's talk about, I'm not advocating for any telecoms company, but in terms of data, who telecoms is the best in terms of data? I want us to be practical about this competitors part. In terms of
MTN.
data, which one is the best?
MTN.
MTN. Who's saying Glo? It's a lie. Glo can never be the best in terms of data. You can say Glo in terms of the bonuses they are giving you. Yes, I agree with you. But when it comes to data, MTN is the best in terms of data. Okay, so what does Airtel stands out in? What differentiates Airtel from the other competitors? Somebody should unmute and tell us from your experience.
The way they do their
what
ads or
differentiates?
something.
Okay, yes. Apart from ads, what else?
To me, speed.
Speed. Okay. Yes. Somebody else. I just need
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship. Good. Airtel sponsors. No. MTN does better in terms of sponsorship than. Somebody say their pricing is actually cheaper than. Yes, true. Airtel, the differentiation is in terms of pricing. Airtel is usually cheaper when it comes in terms of pricing and their advert. But when it comes to network coverage, no, sir, Richard, I don't agree with you. When it comes in terms of coverage, MTN has a better. MTN has better data. Any of them. So you see, they are all in the same space, but everybody is choosing how to differentiate themselves from. So when you are looking for cheaper products, you know Airtel is the way to go. When you're looking for good data, you know that MTN is the way to go. And then last but not the least, the general public. Remember, we said the sum total of experience is what is called branding, that people form about you will determine whether they are buying from you. That is why somebody can be selling something in front of your house. You will drive to a little distance to buy that same thing from somebody else. Why? Because the person has formed a perception in your mind you are very weak, right? I've talked so much about how does government affect? Yes, government affect too. Very, very important. Those who were into rice production or rice milling, you will agree with me that it was when Buhari closed, late Muhammadu Buhari, president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, closed the border, that local rice, we started consuming local rice. True or false? Fine. So that was a boost in the business. So what happened was that those guys, if you were in that particular space, you just have to go and start looking for, and they started improving seriously. Yes, because at that point in time, the competition became very, very stiff. So if you are not doing the needful. If your machine was not destoning, polishing, and giving those foreign rice vibe, you were carrying last. That's why we saw the likes of Bull. I mean, and you know that is it Iron Bull? You know that Iron Bull now is almost commanding the same price as foreign rice, despite it's even a local rice. True or false? Fine. So those are things that those kind of environment can actually do. And please, as a businessman, always be sensitive. That's why it's good to follow business news. Don't assume that those things will not affect you. But I like it or not, they will affect you. AI is doing the most right now in the business world. So if you are into business and you're not looking for how to integrate AI into your process, I don't know what is your problem with. Recently, because we manage we manage social media pages for some of our clients. From the comfort of our office, we're able to draw a 1-year calendar for most of our business. All we're doing, and then we just told the content team, just build content around this 1-year calendar. And guess what? There are even AIs that automate. In fact, there are AIs now that does better social media ads than individuals. So do I need to then now employ somebody now to be doing social media ads for me? No, because technology is changing everything, right? And then please, legal is very, very important. That's why when you're going to any business, please always ensure legality part of it is very, very key. Now, for those of you who don't know a little bit about the tax reforms that has been signed, what it means is that if you don't generate up to 50 million, you're not expected to remit tax. If you're a business name and you are a limited liability company. So note that it's very, very important. So if somebody comes to start bamboozling you to pay tax when you've not generated up to that particular amount, know that the person is just trying to take advantage. So you need to know the distance. And then finally, still talking about legal, but you know that if you're doing a business of 100 million, you should have it at the back of your mind that you have to pay tax. So these things are very, very important. Now, let me just share a quick story how these things can actually affect a business. And then we'll look at the last of it, which is human relationship management. All of these things are adverts and all of that. And we'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about, but let me share my story. Now, Starbucks discovered that there was a decline in their sales. And they did a little bit of finding and now discovered that all of a sudden there's been a shift in terms of the demography of their customers to now Gen Z. And they now ask themselves one very, very vital question. How can we get these guys to buy from us? Simple. They started offering free Wi-Fi services because Gen Z, you cannot part ways they don't part ways with their mobile phones. So what it's saying is that free Wi-Fi could afford them the opportunity of remaining with their phone. And the longer they remain with their phone, the longer they buy, the more they buy from you. So imagine finishing a cup of coffee in 5 minutes, and you have something doing there in the next 1 hour. It means that you drink more coffee. That's how they were able to get back on track. So that's why record keeping is important. That's why marketing is important. That's why you're learning the things that you're learning here. Now, having done all of this, you've been able to get the customers to buy from you, to get them into your doorstep. Let's say digital marketing got them into your doorstep. Your knowledge of marketing got them to buy from you. It is customer relationship management that will ensure that they keep buying from you again and again. Now, the problem I've discovered with most businesses is that after people buy from us, probably like twice or thrice, we don't even tend to keep tabs with them. Now, let me share one secret with you. It is easier to get somebody who had bought from you to buy from you again than getting a new customer. What is saying is that new customer acquisition is more expensive than repeated customer purchase. Because the person if you're going to acquire a new customer, the person had never tested your product before. The person cannot tell whether your product is qualitative or why should they leave the product that your competitors to buy from you. So you have a lot of convincing to do. Than somebody who had bought from you, it is customer relationship management that will keep them. So know your customers. That's why the central bank introduced something called KYC, know your customers. So I'm saying to everybody on this particular platform today, know your customers as we begin to wrap up this particular session. It's very, very important. Know when their birthdays are. That's why banks will send you birthday SMS. That's why they will send you emails. call them if they are having events. See, I'm just going to summarize this particular slide by telling you practical steps that you need to take. If they are having weddings, please attend their weddings as much as you can. Send little tokens. If you can't send tokens, call them up. Know your customers. Recently, Dangote Cement, they did one particular, I think they did a mini documentary on television that they used to advertise their product. And one of the things one of the dealers said was that he's still surprised that as big as Dangote is, Dangote still takes his call. That sometimes when he calls and Dangote the meeting, Dangote will call him by name and say, please, I'll call you later. And the truth is what Dangote will call him later. Now, these are little perks that you will do as a business owner to maintain relationships. And please don't be too big. Never be bigger than your customers. Yes, as much as you are, how do I put it now, building a structure in your business, there are still some people who still want your personal.
Hello, sir. We can no longer hear you in case you're still speaking. Okay, everyone, please just be patient while we get him back on the call. Thank you. Okay, so while we wait for him to join, if you are yet to fill up the attendance, please go ahead and do that. The attendance link is in the chat room.
Sorry, guys, network threw me out.
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. So let me just let's continue from where we stopped. I was talking about ethical marketing, right? Share my screen from where I am. So the long and short of ethical marketing, long and short of ethical marketing is that, like I said, under promise and over deliver. Under promise and over deliver. Be true. If you are going to, MTN did something. If you notice, there was a time there was a ban on telecoms promo because MTN went to promise plain. How many of you saw that? On mute. How many of you saw that? This was some 7 years ago that MTN was going to do a promo and they say plain. How many of you saw that advert? And they were going to give out plain. Yeah, so on the promise and over deliver. Are we following now? So please be true. Don't go and promise what you cannot. So number one, marketing should be true. Don't go and do what I ordered versus what I got, please. It's very, very important. And this era where people have access to social media, they'll just mess you up. And you can't start going to everybody's house without explaining to them what happened. That's why you need to price correctly. Some of the problems a lot of us face in business is that we underprice. So you now go and price, give customer a price just because you want to win the customer. Then at the end of the day, you are struggling to finish the work because what you charge cannot even afford to get the product ready. Let's say you are making a cloth, and then you now go back to the client to ask for more money. Now start making you look very, very unprofessional. Now, marketing campaigns, especially for the end users, is very, very important, please. And that is why don't go and start sharing customers' information with people. It's very, very important. Privacy is very, very important. That is why doctors, they will never tell you that this person has XYZ disease because privacy is very, very important, right? So it's important. There are marketing campaigns, and sometimes some of your clients may open up to you to share their personal problem. It's all part of customer relationship management. Please ensure that their secrets are safe with you.
Some of your friends that are network experts.
So Marketing campaigns must adhere to norm standards regulation. That is why ACON will tell you that there's a need for them to vet whatever it is that you are putting. And that's why you cannot post nudity on billboards because it's not part of the rules and regulation. Right? So it's important to follow. And please always take the legality of your business very, very serious. If you need to trademark your logo, trademark your logo. And follow, register with Corporate Affairs Commission, open a corporate account, do your CAC filings. Some of us will don't file CAC. So by the time they check, we'll do a run now on your business. We'll now find out the penalties you pay. They will just delist you. So these are things that we need to take very, very, very serious. The legal part of our business should be taken with utmost caution. Ensure you obey regulations. They are very, very important. And please register your intellectual property. Let me just tell you guys something that happened in Nigeria. It wasn't popular because the government was on the receiving end. Now, during I think there was one of the elections, not the one that brought Goodluck Jonathan into power. I think the one that brought Iroadumba into power. INEC went ahead and gave, there's something we call data capturing machine. How many of you remember? Data capturing machine. INEC went ahead and gave data capturing machine contract to Nigerian companies. Zynox was one of them, a couple of them. Unknown to INEC because they didn't do their homework, that there was that data capturing machine covered by intellectual, it was registered. More like there was an IP on data capturing machine. So all they needed to have done was to take permission or buy whatever it is they needed to pay to now allow Nigerian companies to be able to produce their own data capturing machine. INEC didn't do their due diligence. INEC went ahead and gave out the contract. Cut long story short, the company kept quiet. It's an international company. They kept quiet. Gathered all the evidence. After the election, they sued INEC. INEC paid heavily. What INEC did was that INEC paid 60% of the money and they now shared the remaining 40% among the companies that took part in the what do you call it now? In the contract bid. Yes, non-disclosure agreement is very important. All of these things are important. In fact, so as simple as appending a 15 naira postage stamp to any document gives it legality. That means it can be tendered before the law court as an evidence or as a legal document. So that is why it's important you know this thing. But that was on the side, right? And then marketing professionals must be transparent in what they are offering. Please see, this is just right. And don't ensure you have transparency, respect data, prioritize concerns of consumers. Don't overemphasize or over-exaggerate. Some of us are very, very fond of this. Don't make false or unverified claims, and don't force comparisons. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to believe I've been able to do justice to this particular topic. And I also want to believe I've been able to answer the question as regards to public relationship, branding, marketing, advertising, and corporate communication. Thank you very, very much for having me. I would like to take your questions now. Thank you. Doctor, what do you, sir? Dr. Orlando, over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for taking us through. Please, if you have any questions, you can either chat in the chat box or you can unmute to ask your questions, please. All right, Jonathan George. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for the session today. I just wanted to have a quick confirmation. Please, is there any way we can get more materials from you on the lecture you've given us today?
Yes. It's a good one. I was even about dropping my YouTube channel. Yeah, I have a couple of videos I've done in this particular regards. I have a couple of resource material. So don't do well to follow me on all social media platforms. I'm going to drop links right now. And then I even have a book written on branding, especially for those of you who are very, very interested in the aspect. So yes, I have material that you can follow. Follow me across all social media platforms. I'm dropping the link, the username right now. I'm on YouTube. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You have a lot of videos that have classes like this that have been recorded. And I've also talked about this particular topic that I also have, and I have a book written. Please feel free to follow me across the social media platform. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So I want to appreciate you for the time taken to run us through this topic. It's an interesting one. This my question is, but when I joined late when you were discussing about bakery, something like that. I want to ask, maybe as a baker or as a bakery manager, the price of flour
Yes,
suddenly
sir.
rise. Now,
Yes, sir.
as a manager, are you to reduce the cutting for the bread or increase the price and maintain the cutting?
Okay, so to answer your
Thank you,
question,
sir.
what's the name again, sir? So I'll address you by your name, sir. Okay, Mr. Paul, right?
Okay, Emmanuel. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Emmanuel. Okay, fine. So now, if you
Yes,
have
sir.
followed this class from the onset, the first thing I said is understanding who your customer is in the first instance. That would have helped you answer this particular question, but let me just help you understand. Now, who are these people who are buying from you? Are they middle class? Are they upper class? Are they lower income? If they are lower income, then you have to reduce the size of the bread to still maintain. I gave you an example of gala. I said they have to reduce the size of gala just to be able to maintain that particular threshold of pricing. But if your buyers are middle class and upper class, you can increase your pricing. So long the packaging of the bread and what have you. Okay, let me give an example. Recently, my wife introduced me to something called sardine bread. And I didn't know that there's something called sardine bread. Pardon me, I may be a little bit village, but she recently introduced me to something called sardine bread. And of course, it's not the same price you pay for the regular bread. So it is currently sold at 1,600. So even if it goes to 2,000 naira, for somebody like me, I can still just add a little bit of 400 naira and still afford it. Assuming that you are the producer of sardine bread now, and the cost of production has actually gone up. You understand? Why? Because of the class of income earners that you're actually serving. But if it's the guys at the low income, you might have to reduce the pricing. And you have to reduce the, what do you call it now, the size. And then sometimes, let me also ask you this question, Mr. Paul Emmanuel. Is it that there's no alternative flour that you guys, you bakers, cannot come up with that will give us the same result? Because sometimes we don't wear our thinking cap. Let me give an example. Do you know now you can use waste materials to make blocks that are very, very durable, very, very cost effective? Is it that there are no, Mr. Paul, now I'm asking you this question. Is
Yes,
it that
sir.
there's no
Yes.
source
Yes.
to this flour that you can use now as a business owner, get the same result that is still cheaper and still maintain your price and your quality?
Well, there is, though sometimes you may not actually get exactly what you have. Like we have different types of product of law. We have like golden penny, mama gold, and the rest. You have mix and bake, different types like
No, what
that.
I'm saying there,
The
understand what I'm saying
result
now.
you get, yes,
Good.
sir.
Cassava is saying cassava. Most of you people use
Oh,
corn flour. Is it that you
yes,
cannot use
yes.
cassava and get the same result?
Oh, I don't. I don't try that before, and I don't have any idea about that. Maybe I will research
Now, that is why
after
you
this.
see big forward-thinking
Oh,
organizations. They have it's called research and development. I think you need to go and look at it. If you try out cassava and it will give you the same result, I think cassava flour will be cheaper than your listing. Then you go with it. The problem is that sometimes we don't want to stress ourselves. We just want to do what every other person is doing. So please check if cassava can give you the same result. Let it be like that's your research. If cassava, let me give you a classical example. To run a terrestrial radio, you need minimum of 500 million naira as an investment. To run an online radio, the same thing, an online radio even has a broader reach. You need between 5 to 20 million naira. And I'm getting more from whatever it is I'm spending. Why? Because somebody had won a thinking cap and say, how can I get, and guess what? Terrestrial radio, maybe just 2, 3, 4, 5 states at most that may be listening to the radio. So I think you need to look into that. Come up with, do your research, and I'm pretty sure you will find a very, very alternative way of going about that. But like I said, if you need to increase your price, but all dependent on the customer that you're serving. I want to believe I've been able to answer your question, sir. Sometimes, again, it can also be how you source your material. So a friend was sharing a story with me He said he's a banker. He said one guy came and bought and asked for a loan for 1 billion naira in their bank. And they later found out that the guy is a big dealer with Dangote Cement, that they were going to change price. So he had insiders information. So he took 1 billion naira loan, bought product worth 1 billion naira. And when the price later got increased by like, is it 500 or 700? Now do the math. So sometimes you might just have to look for, you have to, probably where you're sourcing your material to can also influence the pricing. I think those are things you need to look at. That's why I said, look at your business records, know your business in and out, you understand? And probably maybe if you need to source for somebody who has larger quantity that can sell at a very competitive price, why not? Yes, any other question?
All right, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, our facilitator. All right, to continue, please let's all go to the chat box and fill out the feedback form. We want to know how you feel about today's class, your sincere comments, your honest comments. Please let's all fill that form real quick. And immediately you're done filling, please just chat done in the chat box. Please let's go ahead to fill the feedback form before we bring the class to a hold.
Okay, yeah.
Give me a good rating.
But while we're doing that, please let's take a moment to say a big thank you to our trainer for today, for his time, for the amazing session, for the knowledge imparted. Let's not forget that. Please let's come back to the chat box and say a big thank you to Mr. Enyinnaya for this wonderful section. Please let's do that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, guys. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Please do well to follow me. Thank you very much for following me, Christabel. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And thank you very, very much, Transformation College, for this privilege of sharing with you guys this afternoon or evening, actually.
Please, can you share the LinkedIn profile again?
Okay, fine. Let me share the LinkedIn profile again. Yes, I just shared it now. Do well to follow me on LinkedIn too. Yeah, thank you very much.